schools through humanitarian aid projects. RAWCS has a financial infrastructure system that facilitates fundraising for projects that deliver humanitarian aid and charitable support in Australia and overseas. And when I looked on their website, I noticed in the last 12 months, they have processed some 32 million in donations, which is pretty impressive. So please welcome our speaker today, Past District Governor Tim Klar.
Thank you very much, Gildy. Fellow Rotarians, and there's a lot of you in this room that I know. I've been a Rotarian for a long time, and I know a lot of you have been a long time. It's good to come back here and catch up with old friends and meet new friends. Some of you have been around for probably so long enough that you can remember the old term fame. Right, well, fame is actually what morphed into RAWCS, okay? And also the presentation about the program in Papua New Guinea at the Zone Institute, and I'll just announce this and I'll get the number off you afterwards so we can actually access that. RILAR, or those who've graduated from RILAR, and RAWCS came up with an MOU called Elevate, where RILArians with their various skills were going to get involved with 5 projects in each Rotary district. Each Rotary zone, which is Western, Central, North. There's 5 within Australia, and we zone coordinators had to nominate 5. I actually only nominated 4. I've suddenly found the 5th one I want to nominate, so I'm going to get the details off you afterwards and put that up so that RILArians will also be able to get involved in taking this program forward. Okay? So RAWCS, another one of these Rotary acronyms. What's it mean? Rotary Australia World Community Service. It is owned by the districts in Australia. Its shareholders are the current governors, and what you're seeing on the screen there is Rotary's new logo, RAWCS's new logo. It was only approved a couple of weeks ago. We back doing good, and as you are well aware, Rotary's theme is doing good in the world. So we back doing good in the world, okay? So, Rotary is Rotary Australia World Community Service. It's a registered charity. It is based in our zone. It is within Rotary, and it is basically a volunteer project or an organisation that helps volunteer projects. Our mission is within the focus of Rotary International to enhance and support clubs and individuals with humanitarian aid projects so that we actually can do things so that we actually look after the Rotary International's areas of focus and the Foundation's areas of focus. So it's like basic education and literacy, the disease prevention, which you were talking about in New Guinea, maternal and child health, and something that was close to Darcy's ex-wife's heart, the hearing project in Tonga, which in actual fact is still going on, and I'm going to Tonga early next year because we're still running that. So, yes, I know. That's why I mentioned it. You, John Tomich from here, Brenton Whittlebury, and one other member, I think, of the club went to Tonga with us on one of the projects. Now, it's been said to me, this club here is a charitable foundation, and they've got a DGR 2 status. Getting a DGR 1 status is pretty difficult, and with smaller clubs, it's an incredibly complex procedure. So our main focus, in actual fact, is to help clubs through RAWCS not have to go through all the paperwork and go through ATO and DFAT and everything like this. So we have an overseas aid fund, right, which has got DGR focus. We have a benevolent society fund, which has also got DGR 1 status, and we've got a relief fund, which has got DGR 2 status. Currently, we've got, as you can see from the slide, a number of projects which are running. The relief fund people can donate to, and we're using that at the moment for flood relief in the New South Wales and Victoria. That then has to be donated into a DGR 1 status. But you know, with the bushfires, we did that. The clubs people donated DGR 1. We set up a DGR 2. We set up a DGR 1. The districts created projects, and we donated it to it. Okay, so the whole idea is to strengthen Rotary clubs in Australia by helping them managing higher profile services to actually get external funding. Now, that means that we can go to other organisations, because really we don't want to run all the programs we don't want to do. We don't want to run it out of sausage sizzles, wine sales and out of members' pockets. We want to actually get the community involved. We want to put back what the good we're doing. So this is, okay, these figures are 8 months out of date, okay, but in the last financial year, through the drought outreach program, the service programs, we actually processed $14.7 million of government money to actually do projects such as, you know, setting up barbecues in outback places like Tibooburra and Wilcannia, where the locals could come in, meet all the local community, and then also have relief aid and flying doctor service, and various organisations like this say, here, this is what's available. And they also came up to the RAWCS stand, and we typed in all their details, and a week later they got a $500 debit card so they could spend to help them get the effect of that. We also had the Rotary Australia Compassionate Grant Scheme. Dick Smith's put in money into that. The one there that says ROM. When the drought was really severe a couple of years ago, a lot of pastoralists were really at the risk of losing a lot of their stock. And this chap said, the thing we don't want to lose is your prime breeding stock. So he put in $1 million for us to provide fodder so that pastoralists in northern New South Wales and southern Queensland could actually keep their breeding stock, even though they had to just stock all the rest of it. We've had the Channel 9 drought, the bushfire fund. I was the chairman of the bushfire fund. We raised $1.7 million for that, sort of 2 years ago. And these are just some of the things that we can actually, RAWCS can do with external partners, which a club finds a little bit hard to do. So that's why we need to partner with you. The Drought Community Outreach Program was very, very successful. The pilot was set up in South Australia, and then the Commonwealth Government took it over with the Drought Agency. We would have days where the community could come in. We would arrange vouchers for them to assist them if they were suffering from drought. At the same time, Rotary clubs would come along and do the barbecue. The Commonwealth Government would pay for the food, and the Commonwealth Government would pay the government $1,500. That would pay the club $1,500 to put it on. So, I mean, my club, loved going to Tibooburra. The Rotary Club of Unley loved going to Wilcannia. We went to places like Coonji Lakes and everything, and it was really good. But it created an opportunity for everyone to see that we were trying to do something. Rotary was there trying to help, and also providing access to all these other resources. So the Compassionate Grant Scheme, this is the one that Dick Smith set up. There are some criteria, and I'll come to that later on, and where the clubs match it on a grant for grant, but this is for specific individuals, like for instance providing a braille computer for a a child who wants to do further education, but needs to feel the keyboards. The first thing you do to tell them is, if you type it in that says "do not touch," you realise you've done something wrong. Sorry about that. The drought fodder relief program, one of those areas was taken actually at Tarlee, arranging drought fodder, taking it to areas, distributing it. The fodder was donated. The Rotary clubs actually funded having it distributed. We got 0.7 million freight subsidy from the New South Wales government to help pay for it, and we delivered an average value of about, with each project, was about 74,000 worth of fodder when we delivered it. And I did some of these. We went to Yunta, we went to Hawker. The next one was the one that I was most involved with, was the Rotary Relief Fund, which we set up in the year December. Actually, in fact, I think we had the emergency meeting on Boxing Day at my room in my home the day the bushfires hit. We actually raised something like $1.7 million through Rotary clubs and Rotary clubs overseas, and then all the various clubs in the various districts set up funds to say what we did. We did some through the Rotary Relief Fund, we did some through the Compassionate Grants Scheme, and we did others where overseas clubs actually organised a global grant, and we matched the global grant from the overseas club. And national activities are based, we have communications, Rotarians Against Malaria, we have projects and volunteers, and these are when people go overseas and do projects like the one we talked about just a little while ago in New Guinea, again, like when when Brenton and John Tomich went with us to Tonga. And then we have, it's been renamed about half a dozen different times, but everyone knows, sort of our Rotary repurposing equipment out at Edinburgh, or donations in kind, which does great work. So instead of sending stuff to landfill, we actually repair it and send it overseas. We have regional committees, the 5 regions in Australia, and then each district has a committee. So currently we've got 375 overseas aid projects, 63 benevolent grants within Australia, 87 compassionate grant programs, and 6 relief funds. So, there's a couple of relief funds that have just been set up for the flooding in New South Wales. Where does the money go? The Overseas Aid Fund, as you can see from here, a large number of in the pie chart, a large number of it is at the Pacific and South Asia, although Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, we do have some projects which we run in Africa. Our area, we have 112 teams, which have included 486 volunteers, have trained nearly 1,200 locals in 40 countries, in 48 projects. The various areas of focus: disease prevention, education, health. We have Rotarians Against Malaria, District 9510. It's got something currently on hold at the moment. We had a big project that was set to go in Honiara to control the vector of the disease, but the Honiaran government is being just a little bit funny at the moment, so we've got to put that on hold. But we've been working for over 30 years now in Vanuatu, Timor-Leste, and Papua New Guinea. RAM Papua New Guinea now actually manages all aspects of the New Guinea program through a $120 million partnership with the Global Fund. And Timor-Leste is on track for malaria-free certification. Now, DIK, you've all known about that. It's now been renamed Rotary Australia Repurposing Equipment. repurposes both health and education equipment. David Koshel, in actual fact, really liked to change the name. He says now he's a rare head, he's no longer a dickhead. So like when the Royal Adelaide Hospital closed down, they built a new hospital, they wanted to get new equipment. What are you going to do with the old equipment? It's perfectly good. It's old, but it's perfectly good. We'll take it out to our warehouse out at Edinburgh. We'll go through it. The stuff that is no good completely, we'll send it to scrap. We'll get parts from one to another, set it all up, and we'll send it overseas. We sent container loads overseas. The other thing too, which was interesting, is that we get that site for a peppercorn rental, but we have to pay for it in terms of we have to pay the rates and taxes, electricity bill, and we have to pay the maintenance of it. And the roof was getting a bit bad, and the skylights were getting a little bad, and COVID hit. And all of a sudden, the South Australian Department of Health came to us and said, we want to reactivate the Wakefield Hospital as an emergency COVID setup. How many beds and how many ventilators can you give us? And we said, we got blah, blah, blah. Oh, that'll be just fine. We'll grab them. Okay, so they went in there, reactivated the Wakefield Hospital. So they had a standby in case things really happened. We got over the surge. Okay, you can have the stuff back now. And, we'll send you our cheque for the rent of it, which just happened to work out exactly how much it cost us to actually redo the roof and the skylights out at Edinburgh. Someone was scratching someone's back, I think. We have our communications activity with Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, various things like this. We have newsletters. But the one thing we do have, and hopefully I can get this to work, is I was going to actually just show you 3 or 4 projects that RAWCS had done, in various areas throughout the world. But really, it was just more just a bit of invitation. So, what I will do is, if you don't mind, I'll actually just show you a couple of those little doodles about the projects we do instead. Do we have enough time, Rajiv, or am I out of time?
We've got 5 more minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes.
So we'll just throw open to a few questions. And we've got Adriano for you, Tim. He'll do that. You ask the questions. Don't worry.
So that one, the introduction, that one first, that one second. Adriano, yes, mate.
Talking to the...
Thanks, Tim, for the presentation. As you understand, our DGR2 Charitable Trust Fund can only donate money to DGR1 status organizations. My question is, my understanding was that to have DGR1, you have to be fairly single-focused on an activity. So most of the organizations we donate through the Charitable Trust Fund are organizations that just are very highly focused on what they do in one little bit.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me how the benevolent society, I'm not going to go internationally with RAWCS, that's fine and that works, but that would be very complex. But with the benevolent society, how are you able with one DGR1 status to actually cover any focus?
If you have a DGR2 status, you can put money into that, but when you don't, that money then has to be spent on a specific program that benefits a specific person or a specific purpose.
Which are those DGR1 we donate to?
Yeah, which you can donate to. Now,
how can benevolent actually have a wide focus with it?
okay, so if your club, for instance, has a DGR2 status, or if your club wants to donate, what you do is if you go into RAWCS, you set up a project with the RAWCS Foundation.
Sorry, that's not my question. My question is, how can your Digital One benevolent donate to a wide focus of area?
You can only, with the benevolent fund, you have to have a specific project. The DGR2 money has to be donated to a DGR1 project that has a specific focus.
So are you saying that the benevolent is a DGR2?
No, the relief fund is a DGR2, the benevolent is a DGR1.
Yes, so how can the benevolent DGR1 donate to a wide focus, like to children program, to a community service organization? How can they achieve that with the DGR1 status? Because that's what I don't understand.
Okay, what you do is that you can set up, if you wanted to, you could set up 1,000, DGR1 status funds, individually. However, however, if you wanted to, say, do half a dozen different benevolent society projects within Australia with specific purposes, what you do is you set them up as a RAWCS project with a RAWCS project number, and you have a project manager, you have a deputy manager, and you have one other person on the committee. If you're doing it in conjunction with another organisation, like the one with Save the Children Fund, you have an MOU, and then what you do is the money is donated via a RABS, a DGR2 status, into this DGR1 project. Okay?
We might do that offline.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can get a project up, both within Australia or overseas. You can get a project up, sort of either through the Overseas Aid Fund or the Benevolent Society Fund through the club. It then means that the club can put its money in if it wants to. It also means that the club can go to corporate donors. The corporate donors can then put money in to it and get a tax deductibility for it. And it also means that if you want to, you can use the RAWCS facility to actually set up a GoFundMe page, and people just, who see it from your website or something say, oh yeah, I'd like to donate to that. They can donate as well, and they can get the tax deductibility.
Doctor, I think that this presentation just shows the collective effort of Rotarians make it all work together, and we bring in our partners when we need to. Thank you very much.
I would like to say, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for asking me. Are there any questions?
Oh, we haven't got time. We might have to take them offline because we're pretty sharp on finishing at 2, unfortunately.
Oh, I can wait till after.
Tim will hang around and answer any questions, which I think is great. But when you come into Rotary new, like me, fairly new, you look at all the projects that get done internationally and you're a little bit overwhelmed. You wonder how it can happen. And I think today we've seen several projects, including Rob's presentation, how it does happen from a very broad international level right down to the grassroots, where you're actually giving people food, water, sanitation, hay for their animals, which is just a very proud moment for all of us as Rotarians, I would think. So, Tim, thank you very much. We have a little gift for you, which is made by one of our Rotarans, and a certificate for you to say thank you, and the money raised from luncheons today goes to all of our youth projects. So thank you very much. I'll pass you back to our past president.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Gildy, for organising Tim's, and Kim, thank you. We were looking for a backup for Milos. We found one. So you already have a role in the club also. No, thank you. Next week we have the fellowship meeting. No guest speaker because it's the test match dinner that evening. So we're meeting in the Regal Park Comfort Inn, not Adelaide Barton Terrace. So all the directors will do a short presentation. None of them know as of now. You're going to do a short presentation, 2-minute presentation each to say how the last 6 months went for the Rotary Adelaide. So that's what is the theme. So please book online and we'll see you at lunch and dinner also. Before I close the meeting, I would like to acknowledge and thank a very special past president Rotarian Reg Hutchinson. If you think of a quintessential Rotarian, we have to think of President Reg. Reg was the honorary secretary of a club for 2 years, past president of Rotary Club of Henley Beach, past president of Rotary Club of Mari Bridge, and a PHF with 6 sapphire pins. It will take me a long time to list out all the work that President Reg has done in our club, but the highlights are the Rotary Directory for many years, Rotary Foundation for many, many years, history and maintaining of club records, cleaning up our Theberton storage space, which is a massive project which he has done, and bringing it into an orderly and good condition. For your dedication, commitment, and long-standing service to Rotary, thank you, President Reg Hutchinson. Thank you. Have a good week and see you all next week. Thank you.